morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Choppin It Up with Ramel. No notes, straight from the throat. Well, let's get to it. What a great day it was in football yesterday, the NFL. Couldn't ask for a better set of games. It was just a great performance by many teams and a lot of good games and a lot of stuff and comments to talk about today. But I'm going to start out in what was a rivalry back in the 70s and the early 80s between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. I thought there'd be a lot of pressure on Dak going into the game, considering that there's the Romo whispers and Romo getting healthy and he's throwing the ball and he is a Jerry Jones son or a favorite. I personally think Romo is married to a niece of Jerry's wife. That's just me. But with all that said, Dak came out and Pittsburgh came at him. I figured they would. He had a fumble on the first possession, but then after that, it was all Dak and Elliott, man. I mean, these two rookies continue to impress. I mean, just continue to impress. They don't seem to get rattled. Pittsburgh threw everything at them, trick plays, allowing them to score late in the fourth quarter so they could get the ball back. I mean, let's start with Roethlisberger. He threw for 400 yards. He did a play that Dan Marino was the only one to do it successfully, and Dan Marino's been retired now over 25 years. The fake spike on the football to stop the clock and just to throw a lob pass with a nice touch to Antonio Brown in the end zone for the score. I was like, whoa. That had me scratch my head. Nice. And like I told you, I may be a fan of my team, but I'm a fan of the sport first, man. I give credit where credit was due. That was a beautiful play. Not bad. But to watch Dak Prescott to come back with less than a minute to go and to get themselves in a position to win the game. And although they was aided by a costly penalty on the Pittsburgh Steelers' behalf, which was, by the way, a penalty, a face mask, but nevertheless, the poise that this rookie showed, the poise that Elliott showed, when Elliott wins the game on a rushing play, just going up the middle for a touchdown, just a tremendous effort. Elliott had 114 yards on the ground, 95 receiving yards. I mean, I think he had about 3 or 4 touchdowns in the game. Dez had over 100 yards. Dak, he played a superb game, just a great game manager, made the passes that he needed to make. His tight end, Witten, came up big on one first down catch. Just a great game. Dallas defense came up big when it needed to. It was just a great game, well played. Man, I mean, if this is the old Cowboys, they find a way to lose this game. But this new Cowboys, they're finding ways to win a game. Just a tremendous effort, a tremendous team effort by the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to tell you, I cannot say enough about Dak and Elliott. And this performance here, I hope it shuts down all those whispers about Tony Romo returning. This kid deserves to play through the whole season, if not for the rest of his career. The guy shows he's a winner. He doesn't get rattled. He's playing possibly mistake-free football. I mean, he's nearly playing mistake-free football. I mean, yeah, nobody's perfect, but the guy is playing extremely well. I read something this morning that Jerry Jones says that we're going to go with the hot hand, and right now Dak has the hot hand. Come on, man. You should have been encouraging this guy all along, man. Plain and simple. If you feel like Romo has a chance to play sometime this season, keep that to yourself. But the fact that this is public and it hasn't rattled this guy, because a lot of times internal stuff can rattle a player more so than the stuff that goes on the field. The stuff on the field you expect. The internal stuff you don't. You winning, you playing well, you expect the support. Not only from the water boys, not only from your teammates, but from your bosses. But they hear these whispers about Tony Romo this and Romo that, and he's looking good throwing the football, da-da-da-da-da. Please, knock it off. This is your quarterback, man. Dak is playing ball. As I said a week ago, he was my number one guy for MVP. And the other two guys that was behind him, guess what happened to them? Matt Ryan and Brady. They lost yesterday, I should say. They lost. But he keeps winning. The Dallas Cowboys is on an 8-game winning streak, and the truth be told, they should be 9-0 if Dez Bryant doesn't drop that football in the end zone against the Giants in Week 1. I saw the game, did you? Listen, I'm an Eagles fan. As a fan, yeah, Jerry, put Romo in there. We need to catch up. But as a fan of the game, that recognized game, keep this guy in. Good things is happening. Good things are happening. Speaking of Matt Ryan, as we move along, Atlanta, my backyard, they go down and meet my team, the Eagles, in Philadelphia. It's always a tough road game for any team. Any team. And I gotta say, great game by the Eagles. That defense was pretty good, but more importantly, the running game. The running game. The key to beating Atlanta, because they boast one of the most high-powered flying offenses out there, the key to beating Atlanta is not just shutting them down physically, but maybe keep them off the field. And that's what Philly did. They ran the ball for 208 yards between Ryan Matthews and Smallwood. Ah, man. I mean, it was sensational. Ryan Matthews with 115 yards on the ground. Smallwood with 70 yards on the ground. Total offense, total rushing offense was over 200. I think it was 208. Man, they just kept them off the field. Carson Wentz made the plays that he needed to play. He didn't particularly have a great game, nor did Ryan. But he made the plays that he had to make. He didn't make any mistakes as far as turning the ball over. Just a good collective win between the offense and the defense. Anytime you can keep Atlanta Falcons to 15 points and really one touchdown. One touchdown. They had a couple of field goals. Man, that's phenomenal, man. Because like I said, the Falcons come in there and they have one of the best offenses out there. They score a lot of points. They get a lot of yards. Usually they dominate on offense. They didn't have the opportunity today. Good job on the Eagles. I gotta say this. I didn't see this coming. The Atlanta Falcons had the 5th best rushing defense in the league. Didn't look like it yesterday because the Eagles, they ran all over them. And they started off running. It just came right out the gate. Ryan Matthews mixed it up with Smallwood. Darren Sproles was a decoy. And it was phenomenal to watch. As I said, I'm an Eagles fan, so it was phenomenal to watch. I don't buy that a team can afford a loss or anything like that. But if the Falcons was going to lose a game, this is the one you want to lose. I don't think it'll have any impact down the line. It's not a division opponent. The Eagles are fighting for a wild card, but the Falcons, they're not fighting for a wild card. They're gonna win their division. So it may not have that impact down the line, but again, going into Philly, that's a hostile environment. I mean, it's hard to win on the road for anyone, for that matter. So Philly extends their winning ways at home. They're 4-0, and it's a good thing they did pull off with that win because the Washington Redskins, after a bye week, they went in there and they held ground. They beat Minnesota. The wheels just came off the car with Minnesota. I don't think we'll be talking about them the rest of the way as far as being a contender. I think they just got out the gate. Whatever happened internally that caused North Turner to resign in the middle of the season is really showing an effect right now. This team was 5-0 and now they're 5-4. They can't find their way. So I think this is the last of Minnesota. But Washington continue their winning ways. That NFC least, as is known, the NFC East, they might come away with not only And I think they might come away with 3 playoff teams this year. I think both wild cards is going to come from there. We get to see what the Giants do tonight. Big game for them at home against Cincinnati. So we'll see with the Cowboys winning, Washington winning, and the Eagles winning. It's pressure on the Giants to continue their winning ways. A loss here will really impact that whole division, at least from a wild card standpoint. I don't think anybody's catching the Cowboys. So good win by the Eagles. We needed that to stay competitive in that wild card race. Again, I don't think anybody's catching Cowboys for the division. Good win for Seattle last night going into New England. That's another place you find it tough to win at on the road. But kudos to them. I mean, if you're a Seattle fan and you're jumping for joy because you revenged the loss from the Super Bowl, well, if that's how you feel that way. This has nothing to do with the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was yours. Should have won that. Pete Carroll, he made the bad call. Should have won that. But anytime you can win on the road, you go ahead and do it. Seattle, what we thought was going to be a highly contested battle out there in the West between them and Arizona, it's turning out it's just going to be just them. I mean, Arizona wins one, lose one, wins one, lose one. I don't think they'll catch Seattle out there. All right. In other news, man, what a game by the youngster Mariota against Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay has that name. Regardless who's in uniform, you see Green Bay, your fans is going to come out, and it's going to be a big deal, man. And I'm on record already, but this confirms it. Mike McCarthy's got to go at the end of the season. He really do. I mean, this is not looking good at all. Him and Aaron Rodgers, that magic that they had a couple of years ago, it's just beginning to die down now. It really is. It's beginning to fade and fizzle out. I think it's time for him to go. I mean, in the famous words of a comedian, Robin Harris, you gotta go, you gotta go. I mean, that's just that simple, man. You gotta go, man. Nothing is happening over there. Nothing is looking good. Mariota, he goes over there. He has a passing rating of 149.8. I mean, this is Mariota. We're not talking about Brady. We're talking about Mariota. Throws for 4 touchdowns. And then you got DeMarcus Murray. He's running all over the place on you guys, man, for 120 yards, I believe it was. It's just, this is not a good look. I don't know if that's on the defense or is it on the offense. Aaron Rodgers, 31 for 51 on the day. 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. I mean, it's not looking good. I always thought Aaron Rodgers was a good quarterback, and maybe even a very good one. I thought he was overrated. I never thought he was great. I never thought he was this top number 2, number 3 quarterback in the league. Yeah, he's in the top 10. We're at probably the bottom 5 for me. But I never thought he was just that guy, as most people have him, as that guy. I didn't see it. I still don't see it. And it's beginning to show right now. It really is. It's beginning to show. But kudos to Tennessee. They kept their playoffs hopes alive as they chasing Houston, Texas in that division. So it might come down to the wire between Tennessee and Houston, Texas. So good win there. The Jets, I'm just going to say they lost and leave it like that. The rookie didn't play too bad, but he didn't play well enough. The Jets, they lost. Just end the season, start thinking about a high draft pick. Your question is, do we ride out Pettit and see what we got when we start looking at the college ranks for the best quarterbacks coming up in next year's draft? That's what we have to start looking at as a Jet fan. We have to start looking at. I mentioned to you guys yesterday, if there's a team that maybe can come from the dead and rise again, it could be possibly Carolina. Looking at Carolina yesterday, they had a game at home with Kansas City. They had that game only to lose it. I mean, anytime a wide receiver gets stripped of the ball, man, that's just finding new ways to lose, man. I would expect that from the Jets. I really would. I would expect that from the Jets. That's a disappointing loss right there. To see someone get stripped of the ball and then to lose the game in the final seconds like that, just horrible. But I pretty much think that the nails is in the coffin for the Carolina Panthers. I don't see them bouncing back from that. All right. But great game coming on tonight. Giants and the Bengals. I I don't see it being any different than what we saw yesterday with some of the games out there. But you do got a great game tonight. And I look for the Giants to pull off the win, hold home field. But you never know with Cincinnati. This is a team that I think is one of the most disappointing teams in the league this year, if not the most disappointing team. But they're still capable of winning the game. So it should be a good game. Should be fun. Moving on to the NBA. Unfortunately, the Los Angeles Lakers suffered a road loss. You know, it was just a matter of time. You start seeing the success that they have, and you pay attention to them. But in this game, what stood out to me the most was Andrew Wiggins. The Lakers lost big to Minnesota. Minnesota Timberwolves had jumped on them early in the first half, and the Lakers never really recovered. They cut it down to 8 or 9 points, but they ran out of gas in doing so, and then the lead just ballooned back up. But Andrew Wiggins, 47 points. You know, I had a conversation with some buddies over the summer, and I'm going to say it right here. You can make a case that this guy's a bust, man. Plain and simple, man. He came out with all the comparison to this one and that one and this one, and he's just been given a pass. You know, I think it's time that he turns the corner right now. This has got to be his year. He's got the coach in Thibodeau. He's got Karl Anthony Towns, a big man, to play alongside with. He's got a pass-first point guard, so the point guard ain't going to take away from his opportunities. This is the year that he needs to compete for Most Improved Player of the Year, and that's sad because he's a number 1 pick. I think this is the time that he has to break out. He doesn't have to score 40 points every game, but to see him with 47 last night against a team like the Lakers that currently is in a position that Minnesota should be in. Because if I asked you who would have the better record at the end of the season, the Lakers or Minnesota, I'm going to say Minnesota because I think they have the top 2 players in Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins over any players in the Lakers staff. So I think this was a big win for Minnesota. They needed this win, but they need to take off right now. They got one of the most respected head coaches in the game in Tom Thibodeau. His record speaks for itself. But they need to take off right now, and it starts with him, Wiggins. He's got to be the one. He's got to be the leader of this team. He's got to be the one. You got a nice 6-man and Zach LaVine. Shabazz is also a good player. There's some talent over there. But it starts with Wiggins, all right? Golden State, Cleveland, they continue their winning ways, so nothing really there to report. But that's going to do it for this edition of Chopping It Up with Ramel. No notes, straight from the throat. See you guys in 24. Peace and blessings. Chopping